Hello, friend. So, today I'm going to tell you a story. What happened to me on Thursday? I had a PhD grant funding meeting with a psychedelic research lab, and I'm going to tell you some of the backstory and the lead in, and then I'm going to tell you what happened in that meeting, and we're going to have some fun doing it. So, the background is that I am studying for my master's degree in neuroscience, and I want to do a PhD in neuroscience after that is done. I'm also teaching meditation now. I'm just starting on this journey, but that is going to be an unfolding part of my life going forward. And I also, in my neuroscience research, I want to study study meditation, and I want to study how the brain works when people are meditating, and I want to integrate these things so that we can prove that meditation works to the more skeptical parts of our society. So, not too long ago, I make good friends with a young professor at a university, and he is working at this psychedelic research lab, and he's really into yoga and meditation and all this cool stuff that I'm into, so we really connect. And we are going to a yoga class together, and afterwards he says, let's go for a drink, let's have a chat. And he asked me to talk a bit about my ideas and what I want to do, and he knows what my course is, and he knows I'm into meditation. And he says to me that he wants to put together this funding application to do some of his own research, but he also wants to integrate that in with some ideas of some young students, and he needs someone young to actually sort of do all the busy work of applying for the funding and all that sort of stuff. And I'm obviously pretty excited because this is like freaking awesome. I'd not even thought about really applying for PhDs yet, and it's really, really difficult to do. And here's this sort of opportunity landing in my lap quite organically. And so I'm talking about like my ideas and what I want to do, and I sort of talking about rough themes, and then he says like, no, but what do you actually want to do? Like, put it into an idea for me. And I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, like, right, go time. Let's just something. What unites this? And I'm like, do you know what I really, really want to do? I want to do something which is going to be a PhD, which I can completely integrate into the meditation teaching that I do. I don't want these two areas of my life to be completely separate and to always feel like I'm jumping from one to the other and never having enough time to do both properly. So I was like, right, do you know what I want to do? I want to do a PhD where I am studying novice meditators and looking at the individual differences of people that are going through a meditation journey and figuring out perhaps what the best techniques might be to teach different types of people. Because intuitively we all see that not every technique is for everyone, and some resonate more with others, and also that changes over the course of your journey. And I want to try and make sense of this a bit more, and I want to do it with like neuroscience tools like fMRI and EEG and that sort of stuff, which sounds all fancy and cool and about the brain. So awesome, that'd be so freaking cool to do it. And it sounded quite simple and basic to me, but I was like, no, like that's right, that's what I want to do. And he said, great, write that down for me, send it to me, and we'll see what happens. 2 days later, he emails me and says, Lawrence, I can't stop thinking about your idea, and I really like it, and I'm going to set up a meeting with the head of my research lab and another student, and we are going to see what we can do and if we can help each other and look for this funding money together. because what you're thinking about, it really overlaps with a lot of the things that we want to do. Like the lab is focused on psychedelic research, but they do like meditation as well, and they're very well-being focused, and my idea is really about sort of figuring out how can we understand this initial journey and help people on the path to meditation, which is like got so many well-being benefits if it's done properly. I have to write my idea up in a bit more of a concrete way and share it around with the other two people, this head top professor and this other new student. And so I do that, but I decided to do it quite simply and clearly and not with too much frippery, because in science, like there's a lot of like waffle and stuff and dense, thick sort of language, and it all sounds very smart and clever, and there's all these sort of theories that come into it, and all of that is completely important when you're writing a paper. But if you're just trying to convey an idea simply, it does rather cloud what you're trying to do, and misses, it just, I wanted to just get to the heart of it and say it simply and clearly. So that's what I did. And I looked back at it and I was like, oh yeah, this is me. I'm really happy with this and I like this. But the idea sounds a bit basic, and yeah, we'll see. It's great that I'm doing this, and I'll learn, and maybe nothing comes of this and it all fails horribly, but I'll learn a lot from just putting myself out there and trying this, and maybe I'll know better next time or something. Yes, so submit that. Then the meeting, which occurred on just this Thursday, is coming up. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be meeting these new people and putting my best foot forward. And I've already got my one friend who likes me, but I've got to impress this head honcho guy if this is going to work. And I need to introduce myself and who I really am. And I was also thinking about an article I read not too long ago about someone's dating experience, where they decided that instead of going on to a date and just kind of putting on a bit of a performance about their life and who they were, the very first thing they were going to say is they were just going to lay out all of their baggage, their traumas, their mental health struggles, and all of these skeletons they had in their closet, which normally you keep way, way tucked back until someone actually starts to like you a little bit. And the idea was that if the person who they were on the date with was completely scared by this, then they were not going to be the right person anyway. So just get rid of them, move on. And takes a lot of courage to do this, but it worked fantastically. And she said within like 6 months she met her husband, and he was just sort of accepting, and they just had such a good match, and it shortcutted it, and it was just such an important lesson in being honest and authentic, and knowing that the right people will find you if you have this approach. And that really, really hit me, and I was like, yeah, God, that's so right. Like, what I need to do is just like lay out my story as honestly and authentically as I possibly can, and tell them who I am and what I'm about and what I care about and what I want to do in this world. And if this head honcho guy, let's call him let's call him Count Fenring, if he's not into that and he doesn't vibe with that, then I want to know that now, because like, say I actually get a PhD with him, and then we sort of figure out like 3-4 months in that you're really just not aligned, and issues start to form, and like, oh, it's going to be horrible. I'm with this guy for years. So no, let's just be completely honest about what I want to do, and that will be the right thing to do, even if it doesn't specifically work out. So, to prepare for the presentation, the meeting, informal meeting, just chit-chatting, but I was like, no, I'm going to prepare a short presentation, and it's going to be about the story behind my idea. I'm going to tell them who I am, where I've come from, like why I'm interested in meditation, why I teach it, what my journey's been like, how I want to integrate neuroscience, and yeah, talk about my evolution. And I'm putting together this presentation, and even that on its own was like really, really, really nice because I used to work in advertising as a strategist for a few years, and it was like my first sort of try of doing something in the world when I didn't really have a clue. And I learned a lot of good skills, and I knew I wanted to have my own businesses one day, so it seemed like a good place to sort of learn some of that stuff. But you do come out of it, and now I'm doing the whole neuroscience and meditation thing. You do come out of it thinking like, oh, was that like a bit of a waste of time? Did I could have been doing a lot better right now if I'd just sort of got luckier and picked something better or thought about it a bit more. But as I'm putting together this presentation, like all of the stuff that I remembered about how to make a good presentation was just pouring out of me. Like just, it's got to be pretty and simple and visual and all this sort of stuff. And I practiced this loads when I was in advertising. And it was just coming out. I was enjoying it so much. Like the skills that I'd learned were so relevant. And so many scientists like don't ever learn this, and like some of them are great, but a lot of them, their presentations suck. Like they're so boring, and their slides are just rubbish and ugly, and have too much stuff on them, and they just don't take the care and time to like learn the skill of presenting well and representing their work. And so it was really 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 nice that I've sort of had that, and it wasn't wasted time. It all sort of made sense even in that one little moment. So, the presentation, the informal meeting is actually happening now, and I offer to give my little talk, and I do it, and I really enjoyed it. I think I talked well, and like I'm usually I'm quite prone to sort of like overthinking and going a lot when I'm talking, and so even when I'm doing it now, I used to have a lot of anxiety, and that makes public speaking really difficult. I get very, very hot and sweaty. But this time it just sort of came a lot more effortlessly, and I have been working on these skills of presenting and sort of being in my own energy and the meditation and stuff like that. Does wonders for that sort of thing. So it went really well, but also like as I was sort of doing it, I noticed that I was getting some nods from my friend, but Count Fenring the whole time, just stone faced, just watching, but didn't really look that interested. No reaction, no emotion, like nothing. And I was sort of like, okay. And then my friend's like, okay, so should we talk about this one and then go to the next one, because the other student's going to present her idea as well. Should we talk about this one? And Count Fenring's just like, no, let's just move on. Let's move on. Like, just so felt so uninterested. And I was like, oh, okay. Then the other student presents her idea, and I'm sure I can say this. Why would it be a problem? But anyway, I'll keep the details light on this one because it's her idea. I don't want to bust the story. But basically she's talking about doing this really fancy modeling stuff. She was so smart and clever and interesting. She wants to model the psychedelic experience, and she had this other component to it at the end, which was I won't say it, but like I was like, oh wow, that is such a cool, creative, interesting idea. I never ever even would have thought about it. And I remember getting some advice when I was a bit younger from a PhD student that the critical component that PhDs need to get approved and through is they need the qualities of so they need to be like feasible and practical. They need to have like a tangible output, which has actually got usually a well-being component, or they're really like doing something in the world. And the other part was that they need to be creative and interesting, and they ideally want to have like a real hook point, like a thing where you're like, okay, like, and then you hear it and you're like, oh wow, like I've never even thought about that. Yeah, that's really cool. Let's go and do that. And this idea had that, and so I was like blown away by this girl. And the whole time, Count Fenring is like really stroking his chin, and he's nodding, and he's really getting to grips with it because she's talking about fancy modeling and all this like super smart stuff. And I wrote like even a note down. Okay, next time have more smart thinky stuff and models. Count Fenring wants to be able to get his head around something. And because like in the when I was preparing my own presentation, like I had some fancy models of my own. I'm no slouch. I can do a bit of modeling fancy science stuff. But I was like, no, I don't want to distract from the message, which is my story and just representing myself. But I was like, okay, right, more smart person sciencey stuff, and so she's like, yeah, he's nodding as well. It's going really well, and then afterwards he's asking a few questions and he's engaging with it, and I'm sort of like, okay, right, yeah, this is. It should be mentioned, to be fair, this is not a competition between the two of us. Like the idea is that we work on this together, and that we can all help each other, so yeah. But you can't help but compare yourself and think about how far you have to go. Then it's time for like feedback, and I assume that mine is like simple and basic and needs a lot of work, and that the other one is like really going somewhere. But then Count Fenring speaks, and he says, right, so the foundation that we're applying to, what they're really, really looking for is they're looking for simple and clear ideas with very tangible outputs that have a clear well-being component to them. All qualities which are basically exactly my idea and exactly the way that I had presented and the theme that I had like gone for the way that I was going to represent myself. And he says like, let's call her Josephine. Josephine, like your idea is really cool, and I like your passion and your energy, and there's so many good ideas in there. But we've got so many models in science, and it's like do we need another model and this, that, and the other? And it's there's a lot of good here, but if we're going to adapt this for this foundation that we're applying to, we're going to need to just think about how maybe we can integrate it with like Lawrence's idea a bit more, so that that sort of well-being component comes through, and that it has a really like big obvious potential benefit for humanity, which is like what my big plans are. I want to help the world, and so I was like absolutely impressed. I was like, oh my god, I freaking smashed it! I like absolutely smashed it. I was so happy. It was such a nice validation of like my efforts and what I care about, and just like that trail of like, yeah, I feel like this is the right way to do it, and I'm gonna do it even without any doubts or overthinking it. It was such a sweet meeting, and there were other, I managed to make them all laugh and keep the energy good, and like they could feel I'm excited about this. And then even like the very end of the very end of the talk, where Josephine explains that she's applied to a load of other PhDs as well, and she's kind of got a timeline when she needs to make a decision by. So when do I need to let you know by, and what are the timelines going to be like, and all this stuff. And then Count Fenring's like, okay, no, it's really good that you expressed this and we know this, but this Templeton, this foundation that we're applying to, they are like the sort of the lead in for the application process is like I think you need to submit a really, really simple, just clear, not too complicated idea by the end of the summer, in a few months' time, and then after that they invite you to do a more detailed proposal. We're looking. We wouldn't even really have the money likely through till next year, next summer, and we'll just have to sort of stay engaged with this. And to be fair, there's lots of other like funding opportunities we're thinking about. So fingers crossed we'll be able to make it happen. And I really like this girl, so I hope to be working with her and so that it all works out for all of us. So like good to know this, and then I was like, okay, yeah, I should probably. I was like, I should say what I'm going to be doing, because like before the meeting I was a bit worried that my timings on this were going to be a problem, because I'll explain why it's just 7 meetings. So I was like, in the meeting I was like, so for me, I'm just a first year master's student, and I've got another year of my course left that I'm going to do next year. So I won't even be ready to start this until till next autumn, like a year and a half, year and a bit. And even then, I've explained to you my story and what I want to do with all this meditation teaching stuff. So I've got loads of work to be getting on with, and yeah, so even if this doesn't come through and there's no tangible opportunity in front of me, I'm quite happy to just take my time and wait for the right opportunity to come through. And everyone in the meeting, all three of them, they were just like, yeah, like just nodding and sort of smiling. And yeah, the thought I was feeling from them was like, yeah, this kid's kind of got his head screwed on right about a few things. I was just like, yes, 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 this is, it was so good. It was such a, I was so happy with myself, and just, but also like, yeah, I just trusted that, and just tried and put my best foot forward, and in the way that I felt was right, and knew that, whether it was these guys or not, the right opportunity will find me. But to have it come off with such a roaring success on the first sort of try, it was just, yeah, phenomenal. So I wanted to share that with you. It's very early days, and all sorts of things can go wrong. Blah 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 blah. But why not enjoy the moment for what it is? That's my story.